Now, a lot of times when you get an old head like myself giving advice about something, a lot of times it's because we went through something and we want to share to keep people, particularly younger folk, from doing some of the same things that we did, making the same mistakes. All right, so story time. All right, so this story, I did a video not too long ago about my 30-year insurance career, and that career started about 94, so it was over 31 some years ago, and it actually started in customer service, right? So, and it was my first real job out of college. And when I say real job, the paid time off, paid holidays, 401k, benefits, of that sort. Um, so, first real job. And when I started in customer service, my particular part, so I started insurance company, fairly a regional player in the insurance field at the time. And my department was customer service was mostly women. And so when I started, I was one of probably a handful of males. So needless to say, I received a lot of attention, right, when I started. Now this I'm in my early 20s, right? And I could feel, you know, the my presence being felt on that floor. And from believe it or not, women of all ages, right? All races, creed, was just giving me this attention. So one of my female coworkers was a young, early 20s like myself, woman, and she was actually married, right? So she comes up to me one day and she says that she wants to introduce me to someone, one of her friends. I was like, all right, man, I wasn't dating anybody, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll meet her, right? And because this particular coworker was, she was fine, she was very very attractive. I'm gonna call her Missy, right? Even though it's been over 30 years, I just say Missy just in case someone comes across this video. So anyway, I agreed to meet her friend, and now the home office was in Winston Salem. I lived Winston Salem, North Carolina. I lived in Greensboro, so I was about 30 minutes away. And Missy also lived in Winston Salem, so she agreed to come to bring this young lady to my house, to my apartment in Greensboro. So it was like a Friday or Saturday night. So she gets to my house, right? In my apartment, and she's by herself, right? So when she comes in, I was like, "Well, where's this girl you wanted me to meet?" And she kind of hems and haws. And I can tell she was a little buzzy. And so when she gets into my house, she was like, "Well, there is no friend. It's me," meaning her. I was like, "What?" All right. And so she kind of takes my hand and puts it on her person. She was like, "Yeah, I wanted to." She basically tells me she wanted to try and see what it was like with me. Right now, early 20s, young, dumb, whatever. I was like, immediately, I'm at attention. I'm like, all right. So you were married. She was like, it didn't matter. So we started. She was like, and it better be good too. So I was like, all right. So next thing I know, I'm having an affair. My first real job, early, early 20s, right? And I'm having an affair with this married woman, right? Now, her husband was out of the country for about 2 weeks, she said. He was worked for some energy company. He was actually in South America, believe it or not, setting up electric poles or some such thing, right? So while he's out of the country, I'm here having this affair with his wife, right? And I'm so dumb with it, right? Where she wanted to go like on a beach trip, on a beach weekend, right? And so I go with her. And she takes pictures the whole time. And I'm in these pictures with her, not even really thinking about, what's happening here. So we get back from the beach weekend, and I'm at my cubicle, and and I'm on the phone, customer service, and then I get an internal call. Answer call is one of another coworker, and she was like, "Did you know that Missy was over here showing you pictures?" I was like, "Pictures? What are you talking about?" And she was like, "Well, didn't you go to the beach this weekend?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, Missy's over here showing these pictures." Oh God, right? So I get Miss. I say, "Look, you can't be doing that, right? Don't be showing these pictures, right?" So she stopped showing the pictures, but now it's out. And about a week later, her husband comes back from South America, And then he shows up on our job, and I knew who he was because I saw his picture like in their bedroom. I was in their bedroom, and I saw his picture, so I knew who he was. And so, in our building, we had our company had a cafeteria like on the sixth floor. So if you didn't want to, go out to eat, you could go to the cafeteria. So I go to the cafeteria, and this dude is like standing right behind me, right? And I turn around, and I was like, "Yo, what's up?" And he was like, just looked at me, and very silently, almost, was like, "Leave my wife alone." And I was like, I just kind of nodded my head, right, and turned back around. He had to tell me twice, right? So, and at that point, I'd already, because she was getting a little wild, I'd already like broken it off, right? But she came to my house again, after I had broken it off, and we ended up, my dumb behind, ended up having sex with her, and I had to call, tell her leave, tell her leave, tell her leave. But then she, I ended up having sex with her. Then I tell her leave again, she wouldn't leave. I ended up having to call the police on this chick, right, to get out of my house. Well, I get uh, a promotion and a transfer off the office. So I go, leave there, same company, and I get transferred with a promotion to Fayetteville field office, which was not that far from my hometown, right? So I start at the new location, and come to find out her husband was also from Fayetteville. And one of my new coworkers was his former classmate. So one day I'm at the office, and my new coworker comes to me and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna call him Sam. Sam said you were sleeping with his wife." Oh God, you know. So it was following me. So I ended up getting a transfer. And it took me a year, but I ended up getting a transfer to Florida. Right. I want to just be rid of this whole situation, man, because Sam is still concerned about that and still talking about it. This thing was still on his mind. So I don't know how far Sam will go. So I transferred from Fayetteville to Jacksonville. Now I get to Jacksonville, right? And it's the company's regional office for that area. And I feel that same vibe with the females, with the women in that office. I feel that same type of thing going on. You walking and you look behind you, and they looking out the cube. I was younger cat. I kept myself in fairly good shape. But then to get used to get acquainted with my new folk, man. They had a little thing where they used to go out and just drink. A lot of us was in our early 20s too, early 20s, mid 20s, early 30s. So I decided to go out. They was gonna have some drinks. So now I was a field guy, field adjuster guy. So I was watching when I drink, because you get a DUI, it's immediately you're gonna lose your job. So I had like 2 beers, and I said, all right, I'm heading out. And so one of the my female coworker, she was a PIP supervisor at the time, decided she would walk me to my car. And so I said, yeah, you can walk me to my car. I ain't thinking nothing about it. We get to my car, and I'm getting ready to get in, and I like, thank you for, whatever. And she's looking at me again, him and her. And this chick, man, took my hand, put it on her breast, and told me, this is doable. And I was like, God, here we go again.